Okay, everybody, we are now live talking Mage Wars Battlegrounds, specifically Domination. And so hopefully everybody's in. If you can give me a shout out, I am actually tweeting and blasting this on Facebook and all that stuff right now, like last time where I forgot. So do let me know in chat if you are in here so I can not worry about it so much. So, as I said, I'm going to be talking some Mage Wars, and you can see here behind me, or in front of me, depending on how you look at this, I've got the app. And the app's been out for some time. It costs $5, I believe, and right now it just works on the iPad. But I wanted to kind of show this to start the game, and just kind of give you a shot at it. And I have talked to the publisher. There are plans to bring this to the phone in some shape or form. I don't know any details on any of that stuff, but you can see here the main thing that's really cool about this that makes it worth the money in my estimation is the builder. So I'm going to go here and click on the builder, and this is basically a deck builder or a spell book builder, if you will. And you can see here I've got this first book here. It's Fizzle. I just kind of play around with, and now I can go in and take a look at cards. So there's the mana crystal. So if I want to add it, I just click the plus, and I can add a couple of those, and then check that out. And then you can go to like lift different things. So I go to the different schools. I go down here to like the Earth School at the bottom. You can take a look at this. So here's the Hurl Boulder. There's a bunch of different ones there. I can swipe and load up more cards. This is really cool for having everything at your fingertips more than anything. Just kind of playing around with the spellbook points. You can see that kind of in the upper right. I've got 4 out of the 120, so if I added a couple of earth elementals here, that would eat up some time. And you can see which uh, spellcaster type I've got. And in this case, it's the Straywood Beastmaster. And so that is going to adjust the point cost and all that stuff, because depending on what kind of mage you have, the different points. So to me, this is the main feature of the thing. Now the other cool part is, let's go back out, and we can go into the tracker part of it, and let's just do start new. And you can see there I can choose the different spellcasters for the different sides. And then let's say for this game I'm going to have the Priestess versus the Force Master. So we can do that, and we can go to begin game, and it knows all of their starting channeling and all that kind of good stuff. And so we've got that, and then if you want to adjust life, you can do all that kind of cool stuff. You can see me adjusting the life up there. Let's go back to normal. There we go, back to 1, or back to 0. And then if you want to hold, you can push and hold new round, and then you can see it increments everybody's number there. And then you can see, you probably can't see because it was behind me, but if I hold it again, you'll see the initiative token actually switch over to the left there. So that's pretty cool too. That's a lot better because you can actually bump and knock these things here, right here. So you can see this is the thing that you normally put your cubes on and check out the different channeling and hit points and all that kind of cool stuff. So if anybody's on, go ahead and give me a quick shout. If not, that's fine. So the main thing I wanted to talk about here is, let's load up the main camera. And we're going to take a quick look at some of the pieces here for the Battlegrounds Domination. So you can see I've got this modular board. So you can take these and pull them off and create any kind of shapes you want. Now, one thing to note about these boards is they have a terrain. So this icon here, what this one particularly means is that you can summon these orb guardians here. Now what these orb guardians are is they will normally be set up in some kind of domination match here with these Vitari orbs. And so now the game has a new way of winning the game, not just killing your opponent mage, but also getting these Vitari points here. So you can see these little tokens there for the Vitari points, like so. And so depending on the map setup or the scenario that you choose, or you can kind of design your own, then you play to a certain number of points or killing the opposing mage. And so all of these orbs come with these guardians to start the game, but you can actually summon these, and you can give them one of your control markers here, so you can actually control them and move around and stuff. Now there's a whole other set of these tiles here, and you can see you can arrange these in all kinds of crazy configurations. I just got a 2x2 here, and I was actually talking to the publisher about it today. I'll just bring this up real quick, is apparently they had some issues with a large portion of the production run or something like that. You'd have to ask the publisher for more specifics. But what I've got here is good and high quality, what they expect. They had some issues with some components, so it's not going to be a Gen Con, which is unfortunate, because I'll kind of spoil my review part of it. It's really, really fun, and I'll just say that. So that kind of sucks that people won't be able to pick it up, but you can try it out at Gen Con. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. But here is the box cover for anybody that wants to check it out. And then I just want to talk about some of the other terrain and things that are in the game here. So this one here, this is a cool one. I can't remember the name of it. Let me look at the name of it. But this one actually will generate a life point for living creatures, and it will reduce the life point for non-living creatures. Let me look at the name. I want to give you the name. Let us see what the name of that is. I'm sorry, I forgot about that. Oh, it's Samandriel Circle. No wonder I forgot about it. So this is cool. Now I'm going to get to some other cooler terrain here in a minute, so I'll take that one off. Now this one is a really cool one. This has a spike trap, and this has some special, a spike pit, excuse me. And so this one here, you can see when you move in to here, you're actually going to have to roll to see, and if you roll a 9 or higher, then this is going to trigger. And then it's 4 dice worth of unavoidable damage, and they have piercing +2, so your armor is not going to be as profitable there. And then you actually remove that once the trap itself triggers, but it'll stay there until somebody actually triggers the trap and falls in. So there's a few like that, which is, you know, you can imagine that's a pretty cool little piece of terrain to try to work around. Now this one here, I'll have to look up the name of this one too, but this one obscures anybody that's in there. So if this particular guardian was inside of here, then basically what that means is you can't shoot at them from more than one zone away. So if you're in here, you're right next to them, you can shoot them or try to hit them. But if you're further away, they're too, you know, blurry for like a long-range archer to try to get. So that's what that one is. I don't remember the name of it. It's some kind of cloudy thing. And then this one, actually I haven't played with this one. What is this one? I forgot what that one is. Let me look this one up. This one is, oh, Molten Rock, of course. So it hinders during the upkeep phase, and then you place a burn token on there, and obviously that's going to give you some damage during the upkeep at the start of the round. So it's a lava pit. Looks pretty cool. These are not double-sided. I don't think that they can be with the shape. I'm not sure why they're not double-sided, but the shape's a little bit interesting, so maybe they can't link them up that way. Now here we've got a similar one. This is the corrosion pit here. So this one is similar to the burn. Let's see if I can get that there. And this adds a corrode, so it reduces your armor, and it also hinders you. Hello everyone that's talking now. This one is really cool. This is, I think I left the best for last. I thought there was another one. Maybe let me look through the stack real quick. Did I miss one? Oh, I did. Yep, I did. Okay, so we'll talk about that one first. Now this one has a pentagram symbol, and now since they're out of order, I forgot what it was. Septagram. Oh, that's right. Everything in here is warded, which means they can't take any hostile damage. So that's pretty neat too. You know, you can imagine that this type of terrain really is going to change up the battlefield and kind of the tactics and everything like that. The one thing I should mention is if you do have any terrain altering cards or spells that you cast, it will negate whatever the terrain is indicated here by the icon. But if you somehow remove that, it just reverts back to whatever it is there. Now this one's really cool. This is an altar here, and here you can actually sacrifice one of your own creatures to get half of the mana back, whatever half the mana cost is. And remember, here's your mana cost. In this case, it would cost you 7, so you get half of that. And then, I can't remember if it was rounded up or rounded down. But then you can actually generate for yourself one of these Vitari points by doing that. So there's 2 ways to get Vitari points. One is sacrificing that altar, or to that altar, if it's in the game. And the other one is going in here and activating an orb. So you can see this says Vitari orb off, and you can also switch it to say on. Now the way that you do that is you just go up and hit it with some kind of melee attack. You don't need to roll any dice. You just use the action use your action marker or your quick action marker even to do that, to turn it on. But you can't turn it on if the Guardian is still around. So you've got to go in there and fight these. And so we were talking about it the other night, and it was like, oh, you could do so many different kinds of scenarios. And even the publisher I was talking to today, he says he likes to play it where it's just these 4 uh, terrain zones, and that's it. And it's a super fast game. Not necessarily with an orb or not, but just you could do that. Or you could have like 2 of these Guardians, per orb, and you can really kind of change stuff up. The rules do actually suggest that you don't create like one big long corridor, because you've got these like walls here, for example, and you want to be able to get in and around zones in different ways. You don't want to just create like one path, of course. So it does give you some suggestions in terms of how to actually set up the terrain and everything. Now, the other thing that what you're going to do here is you're actually going to, so we'll just give you an example here. So you got this here. So let's say that the Force Master here, they had summoned a invisible stalker, and then that had moved into here, right? So it would get its little activation token. So that you're going to have this guy. Now he's got a choice there. He's got to fight with this Guardian, but let's say that the Angel character here, the Priestess, had summoned in here Mr. Brokestone, and so he's got that. So now you've got this sort of decision-making points, and the layout in the map and the terrain is really going to have a lot more of an effect, and in terms of where you're summoning different characters and things like that, where you're laying down, something like a mana flower here, which generates a little bit more channeling for your particular mage, and where you, like I said again, where you're putting your walls and things, because you might want to jump in here, throw a wall in here, so anytime that somebody's trying to come into here, they're going to try to roll against damage on these spikes and things. So that's really, really cool. That's awesome. And I will just say, I don't really want to play with just a straight, what was it, 6x2 map or whatever, 6x4 actually, the basic map. Because it's just very static, and there's not really there's no terrain, really. I mean, you can cast and create terrain, but that takes time, and it takes effort, and takes up actions and mana, so it's a little bit tricky that way. So this is really, really cool. Like, just these little simple things really change up the dynamics of the game. So the way that orbs work, though, let's talk about that. Let's say we had cleared off the Guardian. He's off the board. And then, and if you guys have questions while I'm doing this, feel free to shoot them out. That's kind of the point of this. Just trying in this different format. Because this is like a real basic review. I can sit there and tell you how the orbs work in the train, and that would be the review. And then I can tell you what I think of it. But anyway, it's just something to try for these games that aren't like, don't really need a full rules explanation. Anyway, so let's say you killed here, the Guardian's dead, and now we're in here. Now what you do is you hit the orb, and you'll flip it on. And so when you do that, you'll go ahead and mark it with one of your tokens. So let's say we've got red and blue here. So you've got these various little jewels right there. And let's say it was the blue guy that did it. So you'll mark it with that. And so he now controls that. And whenever you flip it like that, then you get a boost of your choice. You get, let's see, I'm trying to remember. It's 1 mana and 1 health, or 2 mana or 2 health. So you can get a little boost for your mage when you do that. Now the other thing is, at the end of the round, each orb that you have here in your color is going to generate for you, of course, 1 Vitari point. And that's pretty cool. That's the victory condition. Now, if, let's say, this character now hits it, what it's going to do is actually going to just remove that and turn it back to neutral. And then they've got to hit it again to get it back into their color. So this is interesting how this works out. So if you can imagine, let's put another one out here just for giggles here. So let's say we had these two. It's probably not an optimal configuration. I'll show you the map actually that I've enjoyed the most. I tried 2 different of these maps, and I'll just try to show you a picture here of the one that I thought was the most interesting. Here it is. I'll just put it out here in the middle. Let's see that. So if you look here, the Gauntlet of Tor. This is a very interesting map because you have 1 mage starting down here, and then you have 1 mage starting up here. And yes, if you already know how to play Mage Wars, this is definitely free. If you don't know how to play Mage Wars, there's 5 billion videos on how to play Mage Wars. Definitely go watch those and maybe come back and watch this later. But anyway, back to this. These two here where the mages start, and you can see these 4 spots on the corners are where the um, orbs go. And then you've got 4 different terrain in here, and you can kind of mix and match these. You've got 2 spiked traps, 1 spot where you can summon the guardians, and 1 kind of obscure spot. This was very, very interesting to play here, because you've got this sort of situation, kind of getting to my point, where, okay, let's say I'm this guy. I'm going to go here and try to run and get this and this, and then use up my actions trying to move in, kill the guardians, start getting, Vitari points. And so if the other player just goes here, you're going to have kind of a weird situation where it's like, okay, whoever gets their second Vitari orb is kind of going to win. It's almost like I don't want to call it a runaway leader problem, but it's because it's not. But it's something you have to kind of experience, I think, and go through and see, what happens as far as that goes. Because what you really need to do is be more aggressive and not play so much of the slow game, because if somebody's going to beat you in the actions, you're not just going to go to the other side where, oh, I can get these safely. That's a bad move. You want to go and try to intercept them, and if they're wasting actions to grab the orbs quickly, then you want to waste the actions to build up offense and defense and all that kind of good stuff, and build up all the different you know buffs and everything that you can do, so you can go knock him on his butt and then take him back from him, and then worry about getting these others here on the side. But that was very cool. And what it did was we found out that you want to play the game faster than normal, and that's one thing that people complain about with Mage Wars is it takes very long to play. Sometimes I hear about 3-hour games. I've never experienced anything quite like that ever. But yeah, I can see it taking an hour and a half upwards to maybe 2 hours, at least with the folks that I play it with. And sometimes that's too long for people, but this is going to reduce that playing time quite a bit, because you don't get in this slog of back and forth. I heal, I summon a creature, the creatures kind of run at each other, and we wait to just sort of dwindle the available spells and power and everything back down. It's not so much about that. You've got this victory point engine almost, and you also got the tactics of the board and everything. So it really improves the game a ton, I think. And I think people will, if you didn't like Mage Wars before, and I don't often say this with an expansion where it's like, if you didn't like it before, you might like it now. Usually the expansion is like, well, if you didn't like it before, it's not going to make a difference. I think with this, you should give it another shot. So if any Mage Wars fans are watching this, I definitely would use that to say, hey, try this again, because I have played the game with people that didn't really care for it because it's kind of sloggy and stuff. But being one friend of mine, we really do enjoy it, and we look forward to when we can just get some 2-player time and play it together. Uh, so it's really cool that way, and I definitely think it's a vast improvement in that regard. The other thing that we've been playing around with, and I just wanted to share, this is kind of doesn't really have anything to do with the expansion, but one thing that we'll do is, if you start the game with a certain amount of mana and everything, and you generate some mana at the start of the game. And a lot of times people will cast some defense or some equipment, or you'll cast out something like a mana flower, into your zone and everything. So what we've started doing is actually just, hey, you get 2 pieces of equipment, and that's it. And of course, you have to, stand by the placement rules. This one obviously is a handheld thing, and this is a ring. And then you've got the other one over here, like so. That was for the Force Master. This one is for the priestess, so they've got their staff and their moonglow amulet with some channeling. And so if you just start out with the 2 pieces of equipment, because it kind of doesn't make sense either. And I think that's always kind of bothered me a little bit, where you just sort of jump in and then you don't have anything on you. It's like, why wouldn't you jump into the arena with like a couple of things on you? So this actually kind of speeds up the game a little bit too, just because that first round or two, you're not having as much prep. And it just makes kind of thematic sense to have some equipment on you, and then you can summon more later if you really need it, and keep some hidden, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'll go ahead and ask any questions that you might or may not have, and you can ask me questions about the base game too, if you want to know anything specific about that. Um, but I think this is a must buy for anybody that's into Mage Wars at all. I think it improves the game a ton, and I've probably shouldn't say this, but I've heard from some of the publishers and podcasts and things anyway, that they're thinking of like really kind of expanding on the system. I mean, I know they have Mage Wars Arena, which is basically the same cards, the same types of cards. In those cards in, I'm sorry, Mage Wars Academy, it's going to be these same types of cards that you can use in what's called Mage Wars Arena. And then, but it's a very quicker game where you don't have the boards at all. It's just sort of like Magic the Gathering where you're putting cards out and just battling and fighting. It's super quick. It's supposed to take like a half an hour or so. I don't really know a whole lot about it other than what's leaked online. But so they've got that to add, and then they talked about also adding like a dungeon crawl with these characters and having some kind of like AI, like a Descent, I guess. I don't know much about this, but they've just talked about it, and this may not ever happen, but they talked about having like capture the flag and stuff because this is domination. Well, now you can have like capture the flag. And one thing I haven't done with this is play with teams, with this domination part. Um, so I think that's interesting, and it gives it a lot of interesting space to play in that a lot of these board games don't really cover. A domination capture the flag, that's more of a first-person shooter video game thing. But Mage Wars is seems like it's kind of heading in that direction, and that could be very, very interesting to play, and even possibly playing like a larger games because right now it kind of caps out at 4-player, I think. I don't think it goes any higher than that. Let me look at the booklet. For some reason, I think I saw a 6-player game, but I could be dreaming that. 4 players, 4 players, yeah. So right now it kind of caps out at 4, but I could see, uh, possibly pushing it to have 8 players, like a 4-on-4. If you think like playing in, this is a weird reference, Warsong Gold through Arathi Basin in World of Warcraft or something like that, then this is possible to do. Now they've got these modular boards and stuff like that. So anyway, doesn't look like anybody has any questions or anything like that, which is fine. So I'll hang out because there is like a 30-second delay on that and just make sure nobody has any questions. If not, then I'll just go ahead and post it on YouTube in a minute. Let's take a look here. Sorry for the dead air. If you have any questions about the app or anything, that works too. No, there's only YouTube on. Okie dokie. I did let everybody know, right? Okay, that's fine. Okay, so if neither of you, 2 or 1, has any questions, I'm going to shut her down, and thanks for watching. And I will post this up on YouTube here in a few minutes. It doesn't take that long to transfer over. So anyway,